Thank you. As you might see me do from time to time, when I have a family member here, or really any of my colleagues that let me know that they have a family member here, I like to acknowledge them. It takes sacrifice of family for somebody to be up here. So I just want to acknowledge my grandson, Aiden. I love you. My son, Patrick, and my daughter, Tina. Thank you for being here. So at this time, we're going to ask everybody to stand. And Lily Bradford, a second grader from Riverglades Elementary, is going to lead us in the pledge. Lily, when you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fantastic, Lily. We've got a gift for you. So, Lily, if you'll join me up front. You did a great job, Lily. So you get a shirt. And what does it say?
I lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You want to hold the T-shirt up? Isabella, you want to come for a picture with your sister? No problem. That was easy. Well, I love, Isabella, your answer. It's so important to say no and lay parameters. Good job. Okay, we're now going to have some recognitions, and our first recognition will be for Andre Soto for his life-saving actions. And for these recognitions today, I'm going to ask all of my colleagues on the dais to please join me downstairs. Okay? Great. I'm going to read the proclamation. So this is a special recognition for Andres Soto. Andres, will you come on up?
We're going to have his mom, Sandra, and his father, Yair, come with him.
And his mom, Sandra, father, Yair, and it looks like we have at least one other person.
Adriana.
And Adriana. The proclamation states in special recognition of Andres Soto, the City of Coral Springs and the Coral Springs Parkland Fire Department commend you for your quick actions to save your 3-year-old cousin, Ariana, from drowning in 2018. You're a true hero, and at only 8 years old, 9 now, we're going to get it right the next time. But were you 8 at the time? I love these corrections. That's awesome. And at only 8 years old, our community, and especially your family, are thankful that you knew what to do in order to avert a possible tragedy. Thank you, and we wish you and your family continued happiness and good health. Thank you so much.
So just to give you a little bit of background of what took place, last year, Andreas was with his cousin, and his parents were out of town. When mom and dad picked him up, he looks at dad and says, "Hey, Dad, I'm a hero just like you." And actually said Poppy, not Dad, but Poppy. Dad's like, "Why? What's up? What happened?" Well, they were enjoying a day together at the pool, and the adults all were packing things up, and Andreas noticed that his cousin, who was no longer wearing her life vest, slipped back into the pool. And without hesitation, he pulls her out. She was a little cold, a little shaken and coughing, but she was fine. Had it not been for his quick action, his quick thinking, they could have had a tragedy on their hands that none of us ever want to deal with. So you did an amazing job and you are a hero.
Yeah, we're going to put you in the middle.
You guys stand next to him. Go ahead.
I'll bring my agenda down with me the next time. Our next recognition is 2019 Business Excellence Awards. So we're recognizing for those that create economic opportunity in the city, a commitment to growing in Coral Springs, and contributions to the community through service and philanthropy. So, commissioners, please join me again downstairs. This time, I'm taking this with me, so we don't have to come back up.
You can hold off for a minute if you want. I've got a couple opening
Even better.
comments.
How about that? How about
You
that?
guys get to relax for a little bit longer. Good evening, Mayor Brook and commissioners. We're very excited about this year's Business Excellence Awards. As you mentioned, they're being honored for creating economic opportunity in the city, a commitment to growing in Coral Springs, and for contribution to the community through service and philanthropy. You, Subra, and I met with all of the nominees, and choosing a winner this year was not an easy task, so we decided to create 6 different categories to recognize these different winners. And they are small company, which honors a business with 49 or fewer employees, large company for a business with 50 or more employees, company to watch is given to a newcomer that's been in town in operation for 5 years or less, Heart of the Community recognizes a business for its philanthropic efforts, Legacy Award honors a business that has been in the city for 20 years or more, and finally, the Commissioner's Award recognizes a company that is a major employer dedicated to giving back and to improving the community and its staff. Along with this process, our amazing marketing and communications team created a video that we'll play for you now.
Each year, City of Coral Springs formally recognizes and honors businesses located within the municipal boundaries who have exemplified their commitment to the economic vitality of the city with the Business Excellence Awards. This year, 6 businesses were selected based on 6 distinct categories. The Company to Watch Award is presented to Nothing Bundt Cakes, who not only serve up delicious desserts, they hire and mentor local teams and assist other franchisees opening nationwide.
We have weekly calls. I share with them best practices, do's and don'ts, what works, what doesn't.
The Legacy Award is presented to Doris Italian Market, a family-owned and operated gourmet market without the gourmet prices. Patrons enjoy the freshest produce and seafood, a full-service bakery, an old-fashioned butcher shop, and vast wine selection.
You go to the deli department and you could have a sandwich made while you wait, have cold cuts cut, whatever thickness or thinness you like.
The Small Company Award for business with under 49 employees is presented to School of Rock. This business not only helps to build self-confidence and improves academics for children and young adults, they provide an employment outlet for local musicians to share their talent with the entertainers of tomorrow.
We brought the first School of Rock to the state of Florida, right here in Coral Springs, 11 years ago. We've instructed over 1,000 children in many different instruments.
The Large Company Award is presented to cruise planners who have been inspiring travelers to see the world by land or by sea for more than 25 years. Founded by CEO Michelle Fee, cruise planners employ more than 120 at their state-of-the-art Coral Springs office.
We want it to be a fun place to work. We want people to come here, be happy, enjoy what they do. It's such a fun place and cool place to work, and we know that the morale has just gone up tenfold since we moved here.
The Heart of the Community Award is presented to Green Thumb Mowers. This family-owned and operated business is more than Florida's largest lawnmower superstore. They believe giving back to the community is paramount to their business model. Last year, Green Thumb organized funding of $50,000 to ensure the daughter of Coach Aaron Feiss had her full tuition for college paid for.
We feel it is hugely important to give back to the community because not everybody is as fortunate as we are to be able to give back to our community.
The Commissioner Award is presented to First Data. This financial service company is one of Coral Springs' largest employers and committed to the betterment of our community, participating in funding city-run programming. Most notably, the organization is committed to hiring our nation's veterans and honoring their service during planned ceremonies.
We at First Data are so proud to have won the Commissioner's Award from the City of Coral Springs, and we're so looking forward to everybody in the community seeing our product, Clover, win out there in the marketplace.
We wish all the recipients of the Business Excellence Awards continued success, and thank you for your contributions to the City of Coral Springs.
That was a great presentation. You ready to hand out some awards?
I am.
All right.
Come on down. I'm also like
Vice-
to welcome Bruce Weinberg.
Everybody come on down.
Our first honoree is School of Rock Coral Springs in the small company category. They have 12 employees locally and have been in the city for over 11 years. Cruise Planners is the winner in the Large Company Award. They have over 120 employees, and they just celebrated their 25th anniversary in Coral Springs. Thank you. Our 2019 company to watch is Nothing Bundt Cakes. Nastasio started out as a mentee and is now a mentor to others. Green Thumb is our first Heart of the Community recipient. The company's always finding ways to give back to the community in times of joy and times of grief. The Coral Springs Legacy Award goes to Doris Italian Market, a local destination that's been creating traditions and feeding families for years. And finally, the winner of the Commissioner's Award is First Data for its role as one of the city's largest employers and its dedication to hiring veterans, local graduates, and embracing diversity. Congratulations to all the award winners, and thank you for all you do for the city.
That's smooth.
Hello. And goodbye. Congrats again. Okay, our next recognition has been requested by Commissioner Daley, and this is to recognize Commander Luce Levin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If everybody, the part of the squadron, want to come down, join us down here. Come on. Everybody in uniform for sure. Come on. So before I read the recognition, for those of you that don't know, when I was 12 years old, I started with this awesome organization that I found only because we moved to the city of Coral Springs called Civil Air Patrol. And so actually some of these folks up here, Colonel Stahl, I've known since I was 12. Captain Levin I've known since I was about 16 or 17 when her son, Jonathan, got involved with the squadron. And like a lot of folks, so it has a cadet program that has for children and students from 12 years old all the way up to 18, and then an adult portion of the program, the senior program. The Coral Springs Cadet Squadron has been around a long time. They've been recognized as one of the top units in the entire country on several occasions, and it literally helped make me the person I am today. And so after I graduated from the program, went to Florida State, Luz, like so many others, got involved because her son took an interest in the program and other family members took an interest in the program and really started to embrace it. And it sucks you in. And so Captain Commander Luz Levin has served as the squadron commander for the last several years, leading this incredible group of individuals. And I saw it. I happened to see it on Facebook a couple weeks ago, and I said, listen, we're going to get this recognition in before I leave. So I really appreciate staff's help in doing that. But with that, Captain Levin, the Coral Springs Cadet Squadron and Civil Air Patrol, for the past 8 years as commander of the Coral Springs Civil Air Patrol, you inspired our youth with your kindness, patience, and leadership. Under your command, the Civil Air Patrol dedicated countless hours volunteering at important city events and supporting many local programs and organizations. We thank you for your selfless service and impact on the community and wish you success in all your future endeavors. Signed March 20th, 2019 by the Mayor and the City Commission.
I do. I want to say thank you, especially to everybody that's here supporting me, because I wouldn't have been this would not happen without all of the people here. And I'm going out, and Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Stahl is coming in as the commander, so you'll be seeing him more. But what Dan said is so true. The program offers so much, and for me personally, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you today. I was just a mom. My real life, I'm a physical therapist, and I wouldn't have been able to make it without my family that's also here. And Jonathan's also at FSU, go Seminoles.
I'm recording it for him.
Oh, yeah. So definitely the program has done so much for my family and for me, and the fact that I've met people from the city that I would have never in a million years have been able to meet and work with, and the support from the city that means so much for the squadron, because the lives that it's changed, I have seen lives change for these cadets and for so many people that have come through the program, that it's just amazing. It's a really great program and continues to grow. The new national commander, Civil Air Patrol, has been around for more than 75 years. The new national commander has done all kinds of things so cadets can actually, at 16 years old, get their flying licenses and be flying. They're being able to call by the Air Force to go on missions at 12 and 13 years old if they get the right training. It is just amazing what can happen, and if they take advantage of the program. So we thank you so much for your support and for the continued support going forward for the program, because it's still there. We've been going almost 35 years so in Coral Springs. So thank you for that opportunity. Thank you.
We have another gift for you. We have a little presentation over here.
Sure, there we go. Thank you, Luz. I just want to say Civil Air Patrol has been a valuable participant in every year's World Fest from several years and other activities, right? We want to thank Luz and the crew for their valuable service, and remind you all, 31st of March, we have the World Fest, Sportsplex. A little advertising. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Well, let's get together.
Come on in the center.
Go in the middle. Go ahead.
And you're in the middle.
Go ahead. Come on, guys.
Thank you. Good job. And we have another recognition. My commissioner, we're requesting the City Commission recognize the certificate of completion of the 2019 Institute of Elected Municipal Officials for Commissioner, Historic Commissioner Joshua Simmons. Come on down. So we haven't worked together just yet, but I'm so excited to work with you. I think you're such an asset to our community and to neighboring communities. You're an intelligent, passionate young man with so much to offer us, and it's a privilege to be able to work with you.
Appreciate that.
You got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can clap for him. So it was January 25 to 27, 2019, awarded to Commissioner Joshua Simmons, City of Coral Springs. That's it for recognitions, right?
That's it.
Dale, am I giving this to you? Thank you. So we're at the point in our meeting for public comment. Are there signed speakers?
Mayor, I do have some signed speakers. The first one regarding the Girl Scout Gold Award Project, Callista.
Come on up, Callista. Yeah, encourage her. That's good. I appreciate that. So just as Callista's coming, if you have signed up for public comment, we're going to invite you to share with us for up to 3 minutes. We do not necessarily respond to you from the dais for your question or concern until potentially later in the meeting. So don't feel offended if we're not responding to something immediately. Sometimes we will, sometimes we won't. Callista, welcome. And if you would, please give us your name and address.
But not her address if she's.
Oh, not her address. We changed that, which is fantastic.
We've changed it for minors.
Yes, yeah, perfect. Well, like I said, a few mistakes tonight. I'm learning, just for minors. Okay. Any other tips? Mike? I'm teasing. Callista, just your name.
Callista.
Do we get her full name?
Callista NG.
Okay. Welcome. Please, please.
Okay. Hi, good evening, Mayor Brooke and Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity to speak to you guys. My name is Callista, and I'm a senior at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. I'm an ambassador in Girl Scouts. I've been doing Girl Scouts since kindergarten, and it has always brought to my attention about problems in the community and how we can help. I'm currently working on my Gold Award project, which is the highest award you can earn as a Girl Scout. My project is called Recycle the Present, Save the Future, which I am working on a website that will be up soon. The project's purpose is to pick a problem in our community to help and make a lasting impact. I picked recycling because I believe that most people either don't care, aren't aware of the negative impacts that could happen in the future if we didn't recycle, or they just don't know how to properly recycle. So last month, I had the opportunity to go to the Pembroke Pines Waste Management Facility to take a tour around the whole building to get a better understanding about the whole recycling process. I already knew people recycled items that shouldn't belong, but when I stepped into the start of the recycling process, the things I saw blew my mind. There were large metal poles, blankets, and even tires. We are all aware of the concept of recycling, but once you personally visit where and how it's done, it gives you a whole new perspective on it and makes you want to be more responsible on how we can take care of the earth. For years, America sold millions of tons of used plastic bottles, juice containers, toiletry bottles, and other kinds of plastic trash to China to be recycled and make other plastic products. We used to ship about 7 million tons of plastic trash to China a year. But in January last year, the Chinese government cut back almost all imports of plastic waste to recycle. As a result, other countries are taking advantage and charging us more for recycling. So even with trying to ship a lot of that plastic waste to other Asian countries, these countries don't have the capacity to recycle it or dispose of it safely. United Nations documents show that worldwide exports and imports of plastics for recycling are decreasing in many places. As a result, a lot is piling up here in the United States landfills. On the other hand, effective July 2018, the City of Coral Springs has entered into a new contract for recyclable material processing that includes penalties for excessive contamination. The contract only allows 10% threshold for contamination, and our current level is 30%. Our city is financially responsible if we are unable to reach that goal. That is why it's important to recycle right. Thank you for your time.
Great job, Callista. We're very happy to have you, and thanks for doing such good work for our community. Thank you. And our next speaker, Deborah?
Mayor, I have 3 other signed speakers. However, I believe they're all related to a public hearing. Item 12, medical marijuana dispensaries in Coral Springs.
So Mayor, they're welcome to come now if they'd like to. We would prefer it at the public hearing because we'll be discussing that item at the same time, so what they say can be acted on much more timely.
Got you. So for those 3 of you individuals that have signed up for that public hearing item, if you would reserve your time from now until then to be heard during the public hearing, we would appreciate that. So would that be okay with you, whoever the signed speakers are? If not, public hearing on...
It's item number 12, Mayor, so. We have to go through several items. We
Yeah,
can
so
move.
we have several items before, but if you feel like you'd like to be heard now, that's okay.
Or Mayor, right after the public comment, we could move it to the first public hearing if you prefer.
Yeah. Can do that. I think that sounds great. Okay? Going to happen within about the next 6 minutes, maybe 7. So any other members of the public would like to be heard? Okay, so you're welcome to come up to the podium. And when you do, please always let us know your name and your address, unless you're a minor.
Or, sir, if you're here for another public hearing, yeah, then during that public hearing, you can come up.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioner.
Good evening.
I'd like to welcome Mayor Brook once again to the dais.
Thank you.
I look forward to working with you once again as an elected official here in the city. And I hope that as a collegiate body, we'll look forward to improving all of the things that somewhat have gone awry here in Coral Springs. And I'm sure that you all going to work very hard to make sure that we, the residents, are given the protection that we need and that we are afforded the things that we need to have in the city in order to maintain what we're accustomed to as a lifestyle as a resident. So thank you, welcome to the board, and I look forward to working with all of you once again.
May I have your name and address for the record, please?
Pardon me, Joe Morera, 3275 Northwest 114th Lane. Sorry, Deborah.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Would anybody else like to be heard in public comment? Please come on up to the mic. You have to come, if it's medical marijuana, you can wait until the public hearing on that. Yep, no problem. No problem. Okay, no other members of the public want to be heard here, so we're going to move on to the next agenda item.
Item 12, Mayor.
Yep, we're moving up, item 12. So this is ordinance 2019-104. It's a first reading, pharmacies, medical marijuana regulations.
Yeah, Mayor, I'll read the ordinance if you like.
Please.
This is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Coral Springs, Florida, repealing ordinance 2017-124 in its entirety, amending multiple sections of Chapter 25 of the Land Development Code pertaining to pharmacies, medical marijuana dispensing facilities, and medical marijuana processing facilities, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date. Deputy City Manager Horace McHugh will be giving a presentation. After that, Mayor, I'd ask you to open to the public so those individuals can speak on this issue.
Got it. Thank you, JJ.
You're welcome.
Horace.
Good afternoon. I'm waiting for the presentation. Horace, Deputy City Manager. On the topic of pharmacies and medical marijuana regulations, just to give you an idea of the timeline, in November of 2016, there was a passage of State Amendment 2. Immediately afterwards, in December, there was a moratorium, and then subsequently some moratorium for dispensing of treatment, and then subsequently Senate Bill 8A was adopted in June of 2017. In January of 18, there was a prohibition adopted for dispensing of treatment, and that's been in place for the last year. Earlier this year, the Commission directed us to prepare an ordinance to allow for the dispensing, and we're here today to discuss a draft of that ordinance. Just to be clear, there's an issue of medical versus recreational marijuana. The state allows for medical uses. It does not allow for non-medical or recreational use, so the discussion today only involves the medical marijuana. There's also the term of processing, cultivating, and dispensing. Cultivating itself generally deals with the growing and the farming of the product. The processing is transferring and transforming it from the farming content to the retail, and the dispensing deals with the sale. So discussions this afternoon about dispensing is solely about that, the retail sale. Options for dispensing under Senate Bill 8A is the city is allowed to prohibit the dispensing, or the city is allowed to permit the dispensing. But if it's done, then it has to be regulated in the same manner as we do pharmacies. The commission has directed us to prepare an ordinance to allow for the dispensing, which would mean then that the ordinance will also be regulating pharmacies. As a point of information, the state statute allows for some regulations already, and we have put a check mark next to some of them. Some of them deals with secure storage when the product is not being dispensed, requiring that the establishment has a drug-free workplace policy implemented for its employees, requirement that photo IDs need to be worn, fully operational security alarm system, and a camera system for interior and exterior lighting requirements, a waiting area without display of products, a private consultation room, a 500-foot separation from schools, and that's K through 12, in addition to colleges and vocational. And these are just a brief summary of some of the more critical things that the state requires. If we were to go ahead and implement regulations, we would suggest mirroring the same requirements that the city has. In addition, we have offered a few additional that we would suggest. One is that on-site consumption of the product is prohibited. Another is that to the extent that in some areas there's a conditional use required, that conditional use needs to be posted and visible. We're recommending a 500-foot distance separation between facilities. And whereas the state statute talks about schools, there's no mention of preschool, so we're recommending that. Also would like to recommend 500-foot separation from public parks, house of worship, and pain management clinics. We'd further recommend prohibition of exterior walk-up windows. We're requiring that the establishment participates in the city's trespass affidavit program. An annual certificate of compliance will be required. We have established a process for revocation of license for non-compliance and repeated violations. And we're also requiring that the establishment comply with all other relevant federal and state laws. With these, the facilities would be as a primary establishment, which is the first column. In the zoning district medical center, it would be a permitted use and a conditional use in B2 districts. And as an accessory use, it would be permitted in the medical center, prohibited in the B1, and for the B2, B3, and downtown mixed use district, it would be permitted as an accessory use to retail stores in excess of 10,000 square foot. There was an adjustment made to this slide, so I apologize for that. But this would be permitted as an accessory use in these districts. We have offered, despite putting and providing the information for 500-foot separations, this in red would be the zoning districts where that would be allowed. We have also provided for you maps of a distance separation of a 1,000-foot buffer, 1,200-foot buffer, and a 1,500-foot buffer. So that's something that the commission may want to consider making some adjustments to.
Can you repeat that last part one more time? About
The agenda memo.
Feet buffers?
In the agenda memo, we have in there a 500-foot buffer, not doing specifically what the commission would like to adopt. We have also identified maps of a 500-foot buffer plus additional buffers of 1,000 feet, 1,200 feet, and 1,500 feet.
Thank you.
In talking with staff and just thinking it through, some general potential concerns that we perceive is increased calls for law enforcement. Some questions about the levels of cooperation we'll receive from the dispensaries, the general community impacts if there's non-compliance and if there are problems, our inability to access the database, so there's some issues of verification on the police departments in the law enforcement area. Inability to also test the THC levels. A lot of this is regulated by THC levels. So if we do see someone, we are not able to confirm in some instances. Some general concerns with a cash-only business. We are told that because of needing to comply with federal guidelines, most of these establishments do not participate in electronic transactions or some electronic transactions. Concerns with the non-compliance with federal statutes and the evolving discussions about medical marijuana, which means that we potentially would be on the cutting edge, and if there's a challenge, there's some things that we'd be tasking our city attorney to be the lead on in the community. This is a map. I think one of the questions as we talked with commissioners, a map of the cities that do allow for dispensing. So the maps in blue do allow for them. The maps in red have them prohibited. A lot of the eastern cities, eastern municipalities do allow it, and we've identified that there. The commission also requested that we do a survey, and we did the survey, had that up, and the question was, should dispensaries be permitted in the city? 38% of the respondents said no, and 62% said yes. There was a total of about 184 respondents, so 116 yes, 38 said no. The general comments associated with these response, we have sent you, I think, a 6 or 7 page response, but summarized and grouped the general comments in support were that we need to respect the community's vote. They voted for it, so yes, we need to go ahead and do it. Another is that the city can use the revenues. Another group of responses, yes, but we need to limit the number of establishments. Another is that by allowing it, it would avoid the drive to other areas, other municipalities for medical supplies. There'd be easier access to persons with medical need. And another group of comments were along the lines of it should be considered in the same manner as alcohol, where if it's allowed, then we should allow alcohol. General comments in opposition was the general negative impact on traffic, crime, lower property values, and quality of life, conflict with the city's family values theme and our desire, some concerns as parents with the proximity to school and the impact on school activities, the fact that home deliveries are available from dispensaries in other cities, so we don't necessarily need to do that. The product is not regulated by FDA. No revenue benefits to the city, so why are we taking on this responsibility? And then others conjured up images of pill mills and opioid addicts. So these were not our perception, these were a summary of the responses that we did receive. So tonight we're here with the draft. Our recommendation is that you hold a public hearing, and the public hearing would be requiring or recommending a repeal of the ordinance 2017-124 that prohibits dispensing. It would require amending the sections of the Land Development Code and setting the second reading for the public hearing. And to the extent that you can provide us with some direction, we can revise and then return to staff. As I did mention, some of the things specifically is whether you want to consider regulating it or not allowing it, whether you want to consider a 500-foot separate buffer or additional buffer, whether you want to consider any other regulations. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Horace, for your work and the work of the department. Before I turn it over to the public, do any of my colleagues have any questions at this juncture? Commissioner Vignola?
So on the general comments in support and general comments in opposition, those are the most common comments, correct?
Correct.
And
yeah, that was my attempt to group the comments into the most common. So I may have missed a few, but generally they fall in one of those categories.
And there was no way to respond to people when they went ahead and they put that the city can use the revenues or anything like that, stuff that was not.
It was actually a survey, so just getting their response. So we weren't interactively engaging the responders. We accepted the response and tallied it. So yes, we did not.
Any other questions? Okay. So would anybody from the public like to be heard on this item? Come on up.
Mayor, would you like me to call the three that originally signed in?
I'll call up this gentleman first. He's most eager, he's sitting close. And then you can call the next one in order. And again, please give us your name and your address.
Yes, my name is Brett Robert, and my address is 1295 Northwest 87th Avenue. And I'd like to speak in favor of allowing these dispensaries in Coral Springs. We are coming, I understand where the opposition is and why some people may have originally wanted the prohibition, because we're coming on off of a tail end of a time period which a lot of disinformation about marijuana or cannabis was being spread. A lot of untruths were being put out there. I used to believe them as a kid being grown up. I was told this. And subsequent experience and understanding about this topic and research into it has I've found that most of these concerns are completely unfounded. A lot of people don't know, although the knowledge is starting to spread throughout the general public, that marijuana is completely non-toxic. There's no way to overdose from it. Now, you can drink water to a point. If you drink enough in a short amount of time, you can die from that. It'll throw off your system. That can happen. Alcohol, as we all know. Of course, pharmaceuticals, that can happen. That cannot happen with cannabis. You can smoke it straight for days, weeks, months, and never. There's no ability, there's no way to overdose. There's no chance of addiction. It doesn't have the same type of addictive properties that a lot of pharmaceuticals have. It's not a refined chemical. Now, if you took just the pure THC out of marijuana, that might be able to cause some harm. But as a plant, there's a lot of buffers, there's a lot of other chemicals in there that keep it from being something that could throw the system off, biological system off enough to cause an addiction and to alter the environment so much. So I think that a lot of people, once they realize this, once we get more experience, we don't have the experience here, but we have it in other parts of the country and other countries as well, Canada, Uruguay, places like that, and all the big horror stories that we were always told that could happen if it was ever legalized have not come to fruition. There is not nearly the problems that you can have with it, with cannabis, that many people thought you could. There is not near the effect on the motor system like there is with alcohol, where you lose motor control. And if there is some degree of motor control loss, it's not near to the degree of alcohol. And I think that if our community has more experience with cannabis, that we will see in time that a lot of the concerns that people originally had due to lack of experience and misinformation will not come to be true and will not cause problems here. You're not going to have the opioid addict kind of situation that you have with other drugs. Like I said before, you're not going to have pill mills. No one's going to be trying to push this on people. It's going to become something that's a lot more normalized in our lives and be able to be used. Cannabis is the strongest natural fiber in the world. Besides medicine, there's a myriad, just numbers of uses for this plant, and we've been missing out. People don't realize, but the old sailing ships, all the rigging and all the sails, that used to all be cannabis. So, thank you.
Thank you for your time. Next signed speaker?
Mr. Robert was actually the first signed
How
speaker.
about that?
Okay. I'm looking for Charles Bargar.
Charles?
Okay.
And the next one?
Nancy Mateer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Mateer, and I reside at 9833 Northwest 54th Place, Coral Springs, Florida. Thank you, City Commission, for hearing me out this evening on medical marijuana. It has been nearly 3 years since Coral Springs voters sent a clear message regarding medical marijuana. 76% of our residents supported Amendment 2 and want access to medical marijuana dispensaries. Marijuana dispensaries can reduce community dependence on painkillers by up to 20%. Ooh. An issue we all know is prevalent throughout Broward County. In 2017, roughly 600 people died in Broward County from accidental overdose, and of those overdose deaths, 50 occurred in Coral Springs. Once our residents have access to dispensaries, Coral Springs residents will receive the medically prescribed care they require and deserve, and the greater community will experience economic growth as a result. I recommend that the city prioritize the following to begin safely implementing marijuana dispensaries, assert a local licensing authority to preserve our local ability to collect fees, establish local health, public safety, disposable waste, and security standards, address concerns about dispensary concentration and proximity to schools through zoning, and implement awareness programs so residents have a better understanding of medical marijuana. The City of Coral Springs must take action and lead in a clear way by providing a local framework for dispensaries so that local economy can thrive and our citizens can have access to the treatment they need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy. Are there any other signed speakers?
Those are the only signed speakers I have, Mayor.
Okay, public hearing is still open on this item. Would anybody like to be heard on this item? Yeah, there's a light in the back. If somebody can shut that off, it's a little bit disturbing. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll give your name and address, though.
Sure. Andrew Felix, 1939 Bonnie Street, Boca Raton. I just want to give everybody kind of an update. I have Cannabis News Florida, which is the only medical cannabis newspaper for the state of Florida. So I cover Pensacola down to Key West, and Coral Springs, Margate, Pompano. This whole area has been a big hot button for me to help bring the medication that's needed for the patients of Coral Springs and the west side of Fort Lauderdale. So my big thing is I watched the presentation, was a couple things I wanted to bring to people's attention one was the idea of cash only, which is true inside of dispensaries, but a lot of the dispensaries are using a system called CanPay, which allows you to use your cell phone that has QR codes that are linked directly to your bank account. So you can walk in there without using cash and buy your medicine if need be. Also with the delivery, yes, I will say there is delivery. There's delivery out of different hubs around the state. But the big thing about the delivery is there's certain times. As we all know, a lot of people work, 8 to 5, 8 to 6, 9 to 5, 9 to 6. Well, the delivery windows are in those. And if you can't get your delivery to your office because your employer won't allow that, when else are you going to get your medication? And the other delivery issue is some of them only deliver 1 day a week. And they don't deliver sometimes on the weekends. So if you need your medication, if you go to see a doctor and they prescribe you a medication, you can go to Walgreens and get your medication. You don't have to wait for it. And I just wanted to bring that up just to give a little clarity of a couple of the concerns that were brought up. But thank you.
Thank you. You can come on up. And when you do, please let us know your name and your address, please.
I was not on the rollerblades.
I do.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Everyone was cracking up. No, it was a true story. It really did
Please,
happen.
would you please speak into the microphone?
I will. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
It was just sidebar. Sorry. So my name is Marion DeBonis. I live at 10880 West Sample Road, Unit 5401. So I'm here because, interesting enough, the gentleman who just spoke, I actually have a club. My club is called the Cannabis Investment Club. My club is designed to discuss publicly traded stocks for cannabis and service providers to the cannabis industry that trade on the U.S. market and the Canadian Stock Exchange. One of the things I have been doing with my club is I encourage people who are self-managing their portfolios to look at the emerging market, because folks, this industry is not going away. And for anyone who thinks it is, well, I don't know what to tell you about that, but it's not going away. There has been clinical trials done by GW Pharmaceutical. They rolled out Epidiolex. There has been Tilray, who hit the market, who's going to be working with the FDA. They'll be doing clinical trials. The cannabinoids that we have in our body, we just have been restricting because of the fact that in the 1920s, the paper industry decided the industry was threatened and it was shut down. So if you really do the research, you'll really understand more about it. I did like your presentation, sir. I think it was fantastic, but what I do think you're lacking is a SME. who is your subject matter expert who can come in and guide all of you? Because one concern I would say is you do not want, if you do decide to have the dispensaries here, you do not want anyone, just anyone. You want somebody like Ianthus, and there's a gentleman here who works for Grow Healthy. This is a dispensary chain in the state. It is run, the parent company is Ianthus. This is a publicly traded company on the Canadian Stock Exchange. These are the kind of companies you want backing the city to ensure compliance, to ensure regulation, to ensure that it's not an opioid. That's the entire purpose, to get rid of the opioids. These people, I have visited dispensaries. I've spoken to people. We've got veterans that suffer constantly. We have children with epilepsy and their seizures, and that's exactly why Charlotte's Web was created by a bunch of brothers out in Colorado. And these children now do not suffer. So I think it's the lack of education, like someone eloquently said, and the only way for people to truly understand is to open their eyes and understand the benefits to it. That alcohol is also a toxin. In too much, you ingest too much, and obviously you're going to pass out. You can do the same thing with grass. You can ingest X number of THC and pass out. But the people at the dispensaries are there to make sure you don't do that. They educate.
Mr. Bonas.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Looks like there's at least one more member from the public after this gentleman. Is anybody else interested in coming up to be heard on this item? Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Solomon. Thank you. I
Solomon,
am a
if you
veteran.
can give us your full name and your address?
Bubba Solomon, 11164, Royal Palm Boulevard. I am a veteran, 14 and a half years in the Marine Corps. Came back from my 4th deployment, second one to Iraq, motorcycle wreck, broke everything. I had no problem walking into any VA and getting any of the medicines that I needed, from Cymbalta to morphine to Percocet to Vicodin, and I think we all know that those are a lot worse, long-term addiction-wise and for the body, than marijuana. Marijuana was one of the items that helped me over 10 years to rehabilitate, to come off all those medications and to find routines that are addressed through yoga, meditation, and non-pharmaceutical medications. I really hope Coral Springs does the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon. Thank you for your service. Okay, one last chance. Going once? Okay. Public comment is closed. So, further questions? May I entertain a motion?
Move to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Daley. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Simmons. Vice Mayor, would you like to be heard? We are. This is discussion after the motion.
So we have the maps in front of us laying out distances. I'm sorry, it's on. 500 feet, and my biggest concern is I have no issue with having them in the city, but I don't want a proliferation of them. A couple would be fine, 2. And I just think if we're more, the designation of where they can go, so that they're not near the schools, not near the, the churches and whatnot. I think the 1,500 feet is too restrictive. I happen to like the 1,200 square foot map the best.
So could we put that up, the 1,200 foot? And Commissioner Vignola has asked for a repeat of the motion. Well,
Right, it's not really recommended, it was the starting point, the proffer was 500 feet, so that's.
Correct.
Yep.
And that was around places of worship and everything also, or?
Horace, if you could entertain Commissioner Vignola's question?
No, the motion, I'm asking specifically, Commissioner Daley, the motion is the 500-foot buffer around parks, places of worship, childcare facilities, and schools?
Correct, as it's drafted.
It's drafted with all the city regulations.
I just want to
correct?
clarify.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. So any further questions, concerns to be addressed on the dais?
I have.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Vignola.
A couple things I want to talk about, and I honestly, up front on the survey, I know we had talked about, when we discussed this originally, about doing, you know, an education piece. When you go to, and this was a concern that I heard from a lot of people, when you website to go ahead and vote, the first thing that comes up is the survey. You can just go ahead and vote. And because of that, when we did not, in my opinion, we dropped the ball on the education piece. Of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 most important things that came out of the comments in support of, we have city can use the revenues. Well, we're not getting any extra revenue based off any other business. Yes, but limit the number. We can't do that either. Should be considered in the same manner as alcohol. Well, state law prohibits that also. So 3 of those 6 things, obviously people did not go through the education process of this. So 3 of the 6 things, the most common comments, were not, people obviously did not go through the education process. So I think we missed the ball on that one. You know, when we talk about pharmacy and you know, people going ahead and with your insurance and getting medication prescribed by you, I've had medication by the insurance, and I've gone ahead and been able to go ahead and pick up my medication at a local pharmacy. But a lot of times after the first time, what happens is they drop ship it to you. They go ahead and they ship it, and it's scheduled, and that's kind of what happens. You know, the fact that you can get this delivered to your home is, I think, something that really changes things. I think that's kind of a game changer for a lot of residents that I spoke to. We're not prohibiting people from getting their medication. The concern for me is when you look at the map of all the cities around us that go ahead and prohibit it, we're going to become, you know, the center of people that can't wait the hours or day for it to go ahead and be delivered. That concerns me. I'm not anti-medical marijuana, right? But I'm anti-people that can't wait a few hours coming into our city, and I'm afraid they might not wait a few hours to go ahead and ingest their medication and go home. I think that's something that we need to really take a good look at. The preschools, I like the fact that that's added in here also. That was one of my points. One of the things that came out, and look, I know other elected officials had gone ahead and asked people to come out and speak at this meeting to voices be heard, and I had people from both the principal meetings and the parent education meetings that offered to come and speak. Now, I'm not naive. I can count comments that have been made in public. I told them, hey, there's really no point in coming out in my opinion. If you want to, you can. But the concerns for me at the schools come down to, we have children I mean, if we can have the police chief come up, I'd like to ask the numbers based off of felonies being charged in schools for kids with the vials that go with the little vape pens or whatever. It's happening all the time in our schools, and our principals are they're struggling with this. So if a kid goes ahead and they take that vape pen they get from their parents, right, or they get from a friend or whatever, and they go to school, it's a felony. It's not a misdemeanor, and I understand when you're talking about, you know, the actual flower, right, but when we talk about the vape pens and stuff, and this is something affecting our schools, and it's becoming an epidemic in our schools. And we're going to go ahead and all the areas around us, we're going to be the hub for that. I have a hard time seeing how this fits in the family values aspect of it. I'd like to see why the other cities around us ban it. You know, if every city had it, and when we talk about, you know, comparison to alcohol, right? If we were the only city in the area to allow bars, yeah, I would be against it also. I would. I don't want to be the hub for that either. But other cities around us are banning it, and that's kind of concern for me. I believe 5 people came out and spoke here in favor of it. I believe 2 had financial interest, right? That's not the overwhelming thing that you would think you would have when we talked about this for how long. And again, when you go through the general comments in support and general comments in opposition, and the numbers changed dramatically, right? The numbers changed dramatically from this survey compared to the vote in Coral Springs a little over 2 years ago. And why is that? And I have a feeling if we went ahead and educated everybody across the board on the facts, and if you had to go through the facts, when I go ahead and I do an update on my iPhone, I got to scroll through the user agreement, right? Well, if we did it like that, where people had to scroll through, and you go ahead and you click on that fact sheet, which is small and hidden kind of in there, you know, it's second to the bottom. How much tax money will the city make from medical marijuana dispensaries? Well, that's kind of an issue. I don't know. Maybe it's because I do a little bit more in the schools or whatever, and I'm a little more focused on the family stuff. I don't know what to say, and I'm not anti-medical marijuana, but I'm anti being the only place where people are going to be driving into our community that can't wait a few hours to get their deliveries. That's my biggest issue.
Sure. Vice Mayor? and then Commissioner Daley, and then Commissioner Simmons.
Just one thing I'd like to correct in facts. Coconut Creek boundaries are open and have been open. Nobody's applied. So that, we won't be the only one because they were already open. I spoke to the city of Lake Worth. They were closed. They opened it. They have 2. They closed their doors after the 2 came. I asked why. They said they felt that it was satisfactory for the size of their city to have 2. And the other thing I asked him is I said, big question, good neighbor or you regret it? He said, no, they've absolutely been a very good neighbor.
Thank you. Commissioner Daley.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. For me, this is pretty simple. Almost 72% of Floridians, that's 6.5 million people, voted in 2016 to make this possible. And those folks in the legislature who haven't listened since then have paid the price for it. I think it's long past time that we permit this, and I want to be clear because I know there was a period of time where we had a moratorium in place after the amendment passed, and folks up here, including myself, supported that moratorium. That moratorium was time certain until the legislature acted, and as you heard in the presentation, the legislature acted. Now, we may not like 100% of the way that the legislature acted, but to me, the message is still abundantly clear. Let's be honest, 72% Florida-wide, but that number is much higher here in the city of Coral Springs. So, I mean, even in our own poll, and whether you like it or not, 62% of people. So, I mean, how many times do we need to see the majority of people say that they want this and they want access to this before we get it right? And I want to touch on the can wait point for a second, and it's no disrespect to any of my colleagues. I find it hard to believe that we're going to tell someone who, by the way, let me back up for a second. The legal language of Amendment 2 was written to explicitly allow medical marijuana to be provided as a treatment for patients with the following specific diseases: cancer, epilepsy, glaucoma, HIV, AIDS, post-traumatic stress disorder, ALS, Crohn's disease, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis. With all due respect, I don't think those folks should have to wait. And if they can't...
Okay, guys. Excuse me.
That's fair. That's a fair point. I have the mic. Amendment 2 was also designed to allow licensed physicians to certify patients for medical marijuana use after diagnosing them with some other debilitating medical conditions of the same kind or class as or comparable to those enumerated. That's actually the language from the amendment, and I'm not getting between someone and their doctor. So let me be very clear. It is long past time for us to right this wrong and to allow dispensaries in Coral Springs. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Daley. Commissioner Simmons.
First, I would like to say thank you to the staff for putting the time in to put this together, to put this presentation together. Thank you for printing out the beautiful maps. I love them. I love, you know, as a Broward County public school teacher, I don't really get to see color paper that much, so thank you. Hey, listen. All right.
I should give you paper, huh?
So let me list some Schedule II drugs. Schedule II, federally Schedule II drugs. Oxycodone, fentanyl, Vicodin, methamphetamines, cocaine are all Schedule II drugs, right? Marijuana is Schedule I. But with the exception of cocaine, medical marijuana can get someone that is addicted to fentanyl, oxycodone, Vicodin, Percocets, can get someone off of those highly addictive drugs. Drugs that really alter your mind, that can make you lose your family, that can cause you to seek this drug and put everything else to the side, right? I don't need to sit here and say that medical marijuana and all the scientific benefits of it because I've sat here on this desk and said that before. This is not a partisan issue. This isn't some political ideology or anything like that. This is merely to save lives and give people the access to their choice of treatment that makes them feel good, to help them live a life as long as they would like to. I'm a teacher. I just said that, all right? I'm a teacher. I know that we have a problem in our schools with students using vape pens and those oil canisters or whatever. Those aren't coming from medical marijuana treatment centers. They're coming from local convenience stores. They're getting it mailed to them in their home with their parents. That is not a part of that issue. What we can do what we can do is be a compassionate city. We can help those residents who want this type of treatment and without having to tell them to wait. This is a family-centered city. Yes, I believe that as well. And so did someone that actually commented on this survey, and I don't know if anyone read all 16 pages of these responses, but I did. And the one that I'm going to read right now says, "My son has an anoxic brain injury and is a medical marijuana patient. While the closest dispensary isn't extremely difficult to get to, it would be a lot easier for our family to have one within our city. When we do pick up his medicine, the other patients there are not at all who I would expect to be there. They are mostly elderly people. I've never seen people hanging outside of the establishment." Calling these people stoners or any other negative term because they choose to use cannabis is belittling this disease that they are literally in a fight for. We can do our job as an elected body and provide that compassionate care that our residents so desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Any further comments from the dais? Questions? Commissioner Vignola.
Vice Mayor, you were in favor of the 1,200-foot buffer? Is that what you had said? And nobody's willing to switch to that?
So at this juncture, there are two commissioners that appear to be asking the movement whether they would consider a 1,200-foot buffer instead of a 500-foot buffer. So there is no accommodation for that. So there's still a motion on the floor, so I'm going to share a little bit of my experience. I don't know if it was 2002 or 2003 when I first spoke to somebody that was very concerned about not being able to have a tattoo shop here in Coral Springs. And at the time, there was nothing that allowed a tattoo shop here. There was nothing that permitted it. And if I recall the gentleman's name, I think it was John Miller, and there were some concerns, you know, how would that affect the neighborhood? How would that affect the community? And if I recall correctly, it was about 2003 that we had permission, you know, for that kind of usage in our community. And I haven't heard about any safety concerns. I haven't heard about anybody being there and causing more crime in our community. And it was something that was, you know, kind of unknown at the time. And there was some fear about tattoo parlors being in our community. I'm not sure how many places we have now in Coral Springs. My guess is it's at least 10 or 12. It definitely is a revenue maker here in the city. It provides a great service for the city. I imagine something like this, whether it's a 500-foot buffer or a 1,200-foot buffer, with our law enforcement, with our community behind it, with citizens that, you know, are responsible here, that will be okay having medical marijuana dispensaries here and honoring the voice of our citizens here in Coral Springs. And we'll take the appropriate regulations. I'll share with you some of the details because some of you may not know the details of everything we have in our packet. So one of them talks about what if you violate, what if you are in non-compliance with what we're putting forward. And on page 5 in the agenda of our summary sheet, there's a notice sent by certified mail to the non-compliant pharmacy or medical marijuana dispensing facility. There's a maximum of 30 calendar days to cure their noncompliance. After the cure period has elapsed, noncompliance has not been cured, there's a hearing. Set no later than 14 calendar days before a special magistrate that's selected by the city. Notice of hearing is sent by first-class mail. Ultimately, the city attorney's office is authorized to file any suit in law or equity to enforce the order of the special magistrate, and the city shall be entitled to reasonable attorney's fees and costs for any action to enforce this section. I think city staff, along the lines of Commissioner Simmons' acknowledgement, have done an excellent job of doing a lot of research on this issue and putting forth some great regulations that is in compliance with the state law. I do appreciate Commissioner Vignola's questions. I'll reiterate 2 of the points that he made. One of them is about the vape pen epidemic in schools. And I would imagine if we wind up having some kind of epidemic here, we're going to address it. That's what we do. We address problems. We are proactive, but if there winds up being a problem with our passing of this, as I anticipate it will pass, we will address those problems and we'll address it swiftly. This commission is agile, this commission is intelligent, and we work with some very, very intelligent people in the city, including our police chief. I've got confidence that we're going to make this work, and we're going to make this work as a community. The second question that Commissioner Vignola asked is, why do other cities ban it? And it's a good question. I appreciate the question, and different cities may have different reasons to do so or not do so. I look at our city, I'm happy we take a leadership role in a lot of different things. Years ago, we were one of the first cities to have Facebook and connect with citizens. We're one of the first cities to do a lot of different things. So we're not the first city here. There are some other cities locally that have allowed this to occur and have not had issues as of this juncture. So I anticipate that I'll be voting in favor of this motion. And if there's no further discussion, we'll call a vote. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote.
Do you have a preference? Do you want me
Right to left. My right to my left.
All right then. Commissioner Daley?
Aye.
Commissioner Vignola?
Nope.
Mayor Brook?
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Carter?
In favor.
Okay, it passes 4-1. Thank you, colleagues, very much. So thank you for the comments from the public and for being respectful. Next item, John Hearn, where are we at now?
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to go to item 5, Resolution 2019-008.
Oh, I want to be clear, that is now going to be heard for second reading, what we just passed on April 3rd?
Correct.
Yes, so I want to make that clear for the record.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. This was just first reading. Ordinance
Yes.
takes 2 readings. Thank you.
Thank you.
For clarifying. Okay, 2019-008. This involves a brownfield area. This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Coral Springs, Florida, making findings, designating as a brownfield area within the City of Coral Springs for the purpose of environmental rehabilitation and economic development, 2 contiguous parcels totaling approximately 16.13 acres located at Northwest 39th Street, Coral Springs, Broward County, Florida. Parcel identification numbers are 484-118-000200 and 484-118-000150 as the Coral Springs Economic Revitalization Zone 2, pursuant to Section 376.82C Florida statutes, for the purpose of rehabilitation, job creation, and promoting economic development. Authorizing the City of Coral Springs to notify the Florida Department of Environmental Protection of said designation, providing for an effective date. We had a public hearing and approval at first reading. Brownfield requires 2 public hearings, Mayor. I do notice that Michael Goldstein, who is the attorney for Sawgrass Development Partners, is here. If you would like, Mayor, you were not here for the, you might have been here actually, but you were not on the dais for the first public hearing on this. Mr. Goldstein's available to ask questions or give a brief presentation, and you need open to the public.
Okay. Would anybody from the public like to be heard on this item? All right, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Michael Goldstein, would you just give a brief summary of what we're doing here?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome. Congratulations, Commissioners. Thank you so much for this opportunity to present at this second public hearing. My name is Michael Goldstein with offices at 2100 Ponce de Leon Boulevard in Coral Gables, Florida. I am here on behalf of the applicant, Sawgrass Development Partners. What we are intending to do through this brownfield designation is take a former landfill that was operated by the City of Coral Springs and closed at great expense, take that financial burden off of the city, pour up to $18 million in private capital into this vacant, blighted 16.13 acre site, create hundreds, we think hundreds of jobs when the property is fully built out, address and resolve the environmental issues, create a significant economic ripple effect that benefits the corporate park and the city generally through increased revenues and more. The designation is supported by the fact that we meet the statutory criteria, which is reflected in the supporting materials that have been presented to you, Mr. Mayor, and the Commission. Staff has found that we have in fact satisfied the 5 statutory criteria.
Sounds
And I-
great.
And I'm happy to respond to any questions that this board may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Goldstein? Okay, it's moved and seconded by Commissioner Daley, moved by Commissioner Vignola. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0.
Thank you so much.
Next item is number 6, the special exception, Edison Power, temporary storage of vehicles.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm going to introduce the item, and Julie will give a presentation. Items 6 and 7 are companion, so we'll have a presentation for both of them, and you can vote on them individually. The first is a special exception, Edison Power temporary storage of vehicles, and this is a request to hold a quasi-judicial hearing and public hearing to approve petition of Biggie Investments for a special exception from sections 250638, 250814, and 250646 of the Land Development Code to allow temporary storage of supplies, equipment, machinery, and vehicles of Edison Power Constructors, Inc., and to not construct the required 8-foot-high masonry wall in the Industrial Research and Development Zoning District located at the southwest corner of Northwest 120th Avenue and Northwest 39th Street, legally described as portions of Parcel O, Greater Coral Springs Research and Development Electrical Park, and authorize the City Attorney's Office to draft and approve Special Exception 19-001 and adopt said order. The companion resolution is a conditional use approval for the same property. I will note that the quasi-judicial has been waived by the petitioner, but anyone that is here, some may be an affected party, will be allowed to speak after the presentation and the petition. And this is a request to hold a quasi-judicial public hearing to approve petition of Biggie Investments for conditional use approval in accordance with sections 250638 of the Land Development Code to allow temporary storage of supplies, equipment, machinery, and vehicles for Edison Power Constructors, Inc. in the Industrial Research and Development Zoning District located at the southwest corner of Northwest 120th Avenue and Northwest 39th Street, legally described as portions of Parcel O, Greater Coral Springs Research and Development Electrical Park. Authorized city attorneys will draft the order, CA 19-001, and adopt said order. Is our mayor here?
Vice Mayor's in charge.
Okay. Oh, okay, gavel's been given. I guess you can proceed.
Good evening, everyone. No, it's not as exciting as our last item, but temporary parking is important, so we'll get through these items here together. So as City Attorney mentioned, I'll be doing one presentation for both the special exception and the conditional use before you this afternoon. Right now, we're going to be talking about what's known also as Parcel O. It's a little over 22 acres. It's always been vacant. It remains vacant right now. It's within the heart of the corporate park, zoned IRD, or Industrial Research and Development. Just for help everyone with the location, it's at the southwest corner of 120th Avenue and 39th Street. What the applicant is requesting today is to use approximately 4 acres of the southwest portion of the site to allow Edison Power Company to store their vehicles and equipment on the site. Edison has been using a location in Davie for the last few years. They are in town on contracts with FPL and Duke Energy to help rebuild and to restore the city and harden the county's infrastructure for power. So they're looking to continue that, and they're on this side of the Broward County now, and so they're looking for a better location for the work that they'll be doing. Including in Exhibit C on your backup is a site plan to give you an idea of where on site they'll be locating the vehicles and equipment. The site would only be used by Edison staff during daylight hours. It's really kind of a staging location. The bucket trucks will be stored there, the poles will be stored there. Staff will come on site, the crews will go out, they'll come back in the evening, and the site will be locked up in the evening. They will be fencing, which is shown here in green. The fence on the east side from 120th Avenue is over 400 feet away. They'll be laying rock to minimize the amount of dust from the vehicles coming in and out. All access will be from 120th Avenue. They'll be installing a 6-foot fence in lieu of the 8-foot wall that's required for storage within the corporate park. They also work with staff for the appropriate materials for the landscaping around that fence, and they're going to be installing a 48-inch hedge and 14 to 6-foot palms along the north and east sides as well. As you know, you have criteria when you're considering a special exception. They are asking under the first, which that little enforcement of the code produces a burdensome hardship and is inconsistent with the general public welfare. And this truly is a public use in the sense that they are here for hardening of the power infrastructure within the county. We know after Irma how important that can be, and that there's definitely areas of the county that need this done sooner rather than later. So we're going to be glad to have them in the corporate park. As well as the conditional use has criteria, as you know, in that it does not negatively impact adjacent residential uses. There are no adjacent residential uses anywhere nearby, so that's definitely not a concern. It will further the comprehensive plan goals in that it's adding another use to the corporate park, and it will be satisfying the buffering requirements that are required. Therefore, staff is recommending approval with items A through M for the special exception, as well as A through N for the conditional use, all of which are the same, except for that the conditional use is predicated upon passage of the special exception this evening. The conditions that we have here are typical for use such as this, such that no vehicles be stored on grass, there not be any signage, things like that on the property. We are recommending that the conditional use and the special exception not run with the land and be specific for this as well. Therefore, we're recommending approval of both items with conditions as I mentioned, and should you approve it this evening, direct the city attorney's office to draft the orders. Staff's here if you have any questions, as well as the applicants here too.
Thank you, Julie. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to be heard? Okay, please come on up.
And Mayor, just for the record, when you were out, the petitioner did waive the quasi-judicial. However, anyone that is an affected party or just anyone can come up and speak.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and team.
Good evening.
I am J.C. Mass, and I'm here on behalf of KB Electronics. We are just north of Parcel 0. And I come here to voice our concerns with the exception. Some of the concerns have been, seem to have been mitigated a little bit by the applicant. But the main concerns in keeping or not granting the exception but keeping the 8-foot wall was to manage the noise or mitigate the noise, to maintain the cleanliness and the appearance of the lot, and the final and third concern we had was with the temporary nature of their business. So I understand it's in the southwest quadrant of this lot, but noise is still a concern without the 8-foot wall. So,
thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to be heard? All right, public hearing's closed. Any questions from the dais? I entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
This is on the special exception first.
On the special exception first. Item number 6.
Thank you.
Who moved it? Commissioner Vignola, second.
Carter.
By Vice Mayor Carter. Discussion? Yes, go right ahead.
I know in the past I've been against temporary parking, but that was along Sample Road. This is something that I think is a little different. This is in the center of the corporate park. It's not something that residents be driving in and out. I don't think it affects property values across the board. This is also a special property owner, and not because he's a friend, and he is a friend, but the property owner here, if you go through that corporate park, really adds a nice touch to that part of the city. He goes above and beyond with landscaping, everything they do, and they're doing the hedges, they're doing all the extra things. I think you know, for that area, and you look at the way that lot is set up, I don't know if you guys have been by it. I understand, you know, putting the trucks out there and stuff might not be the best uses for it right now, you know, for long term, but this is a temporary thing, and I think, you know, John's gonna go ahead and make sure that property is done really nice, and that's why I'm in favor of going forward with it.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Next is on the conditional use approval, item number 7.
I'll move it.
Moved by Commissioner Vignola.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Daley. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carries unanimously, 5-0. Next item is number 8, conditional use approval, Sawgrass North.
This is a request to hold a quasi-judicial hearing and public hearing to approve petition of Biggie Investments for conditional use approval in accordance with Section 250-63810 of the Land Development Code to allow for large-scale buildings under single ownership occupying a footprint greater than 100,000 square feet in the industrial research and development. zoning district located at 3850 through 3896 Northwest 126th Avenue, legally described as Lot 1, Block A, in a vacation portion of Northwest 39th Street right-of-way, Greater Coral Springs Research and Development Electrical Park Edition. Authorize city attorney's office to draft an order approving CA 19-002 and adopt said order. And again, in this one, we'll open up to the public, but the quasi-judicial has been waived by the petitioner, and Ms. Krolik will give a brief presentation.
And everyone? So again, this parcel is also located within the corporate park. It's on 126th Avenue. It abuts the Sawgrass Expressway, so we're even further in the park than we spoke about a minute ago. It's at the northwest corner of 126th and the end of 39th Street. It's about at 7 acres in size. And the applicant actually came in a couple years ago and started working on the project and wasn't really sure that they were going to move forward with it. Just they have other things going on, whether or not the market, really needed it or not. And luckily for Coral Springs, they recently became aware of Exclusive Trim, was looking to relocate from Sunrise, and they heard about the project and think this is a good site for them. Exclusive Trim has been in business since about 2010. There's estimated that they're going to bring about 200 employees to the corporate park. So they have some exciting projects coming up for their business that's looking for them to expand. They need more their space, and they really feel that this site is going to be great for them, so we're excited to have them. The two buildings together are a little over 117,000 square feet, which is why the conditional use is before you this evening. Exclusive Trim will be moving into Building A, which is about 70,000 square feet in size. As you can see from the site plan, which is also included in Exhibit C in your packet, all entrances to the project will be from 120th. There will be a main drive aisle for the trucks, and then all the rest of the parking will be at the fronts of the buildings as well as the perimeter of the site. As Commissioner Vignola mentioned, this owner, Big Investments, does a great job. All their properties in the corporate park look wonderful. They've done other projects similar, and this project itself will also be designed LEED Silver certification. So it's nice to have another LEED developed project in the corporate park as well. Whenever a conditional use such as this comes before you, it's required that a noise study be submitted. They have submitted one. It's under review by the city's noise consultant. Preliminary speaking with him, he said it looks like it's going to be okay so far. Of course, all activity for Exclusive Trim will happen within the building, so it's expected that the noise levels will be similar to what's out there now in the ambient sounds. They've also submitted a traffic study as required by code. Again, the city's consultant has looked at it preliminarily. He's finishing up his review. He doesn't see anything, that should be exceptional about or anything like that. As I mentioned, everything will be coming from 126th. And once he completes his review, we'll know the proportionate share for the STEP program, which you all may remember a few items came before you in the last few months for projects such as this, where they pay a proportionate share for traffic way improvements should they be needed for the corporate park. So with that, staff is recommending approval based on, again, the criteria for conditional use. Again, it's bringing a great new business to Coral Springs, and we'll be adding to the city's economic growth, so we feel it meets the policies of the comprehensive plan. Therefore, we're recommending approval with conditions A through F that are listed in your report, including that those traffic and noise studies be wrapped up prior to site plan approval. And the rest are all typical conditions that you see, such as a landscape maintenance agreement, and that the larger trees be planted for conditional use of this. So we're recommending approval of the item today.
Thank you, Julie. Is anyone from the public that wants to be heard? Okay, public comments complete.
I'll move for approval.
Seconded by Commissioner Simmons. Any discussion?
Mayor,
Commissioner Simmons beat you on that one.
Yeah. Mayor,
Commissioner Daly, yes.
if real quick, since Mr. Biggie is in the audience, I would like to thank him. One of the things that's really impressed me with Mr. Biggie is he could make more money selling his property or developing it in different manners. But what's really important to him is generating jobs, which is what economic development is about. And that's something that's always struck me. I wanted to thank him because he's developing his property in a manner that provides jobs for our residents and growth. And I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Larry.
And also, when we were struck by a hurricane a little over a year ago, Sean was very beneficial, being a great partner in the community and housing some of our staff and stuff also. So yeah, he's been a great partner to our community, and we're very lucky to have him.
All right, wonderful. Any further comment?
I agree with every single thing everyone just said.
Well, we thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Yeah, we can clap for him now. Thank you. And I like LEED. LEED is good. Next is item number 9, sign variance regarding Holy Cross Hospital urgent care.
This is a request to hold a quasi-judicial hearing and public hearing and approve petition of Holy Cross Hospital for a sign variance for sections 1805 permanent signs and 1807 basic building wall design schedule of the Land Development Code relative to the size of walls, signs, and nameplate addresses signs for Holy Cross Hospital urgent care and physician offices located at 3481 North University Drive, legally described as a portion of Parcel A, Coral Springs Village Green, and authorize City Attorney's Office to draft an order approving sign variance 001 and adopt said order. Request to hold a public hearing. Again, the quasi's been waived on this. Approve, authorize, and adopt. Wow, same person.
Welcome back, Julie.
All right, so again, this application is here on behalf of Holy Cross Hospital. This site is a little under 2 acres in size. It's just north of University and Sample Road within the downtown area. I'm sure most of us in the room are well aware of the site. The Starbucks is there, and Holy Cross is moving into the 10,000 square foot office. I think they just had the ribbon cutting yesterday, if I remember correctly. So we're glad to have them open. So the reason they're before you today, there are 3 signs that they'll be putting on the building, which needs sign variances today. You can see that both entrances to the property are along Broken Woods Drive. So speaking of together about the south and the west elevations, because it's the same size sign that's going to go on both those elevations, the letters themselves meet code. It's the logo, really, that's why it's here before you today. We've talked in the past about how the round logos kind of fit hard within the code sometimes and making them meet requirements of the code. So they're asking for a 46-inch logo where a 20 inch is allowed. Staff has worked with them right along, as well as with our sign consultant. We do feel that the size of the letter that they're requesting and the logo is appropriate for the building as well as within the downtown. These are all going to be designer signs. They'll be front and backlit, so they're going to look really nice on the building. And then the north elevation is here before you this evening because the numbers themselves are a little too big above what code is allowed, as well as this sign is going to be illuminated. And as you may know, La Quinta is on the north side of Broken Woods Drive from this property, and it's technically zoned a residential zoning district. It's technically zoned RM40. So because of that, the code does not allow for the sign to be lit. However, knowing that it's an urgent care and people are coming there when they're not feeling well or maybe have some type of emergency, we felt that that sign really should be lit, especially since both entrances are along Broken Woods Drive. We want to help with the wayfinding to make sure that this sign helps people find the new business there. So again, staff as well as our sign consultant felt that this was appropriate, particularly since it is really facing a commercial use. And there won't be any signs along the east side of the building. The criteria for a sign variance is a little different than the other 2 I spoke about this evening. However, staff does believe that it meets, particularly that the signs are compatible with their surroundings being within the downtown district. And again, identifying that urgent care hospital use and knowing that it needs to be wayfinding within the downtown area. Therefore, we're recommending approval with conditions A through G. They're included, most notably that it just meets the sizing that's included in your backup and that it is specifically for this use. Staff is here if you have any questions, as well as the applicant is here as well.
Thank you, Julie. When the lighting of signs is provided, what does it take for city staff to approve or give feedback?
We try to turn it back around to the sign consultant within a couple days, 2 to 3 business days. Now, sometimes we may go back and forth 3, 4, 5 times, depending on the type of sign, you know, if it's designer or not, or whatnot. You know, the quality of the drawings, how many times we worked with the sign company before, but we typically respond in 2 to 3 business days.
Sounds good. Any other questions of Julie? Okay, it's a public hearing. Would anybody like to be heard? Okay, public hearing is closed. Motion?
I have a comment.
Sure.
I went to the grand opening yesterday. It was a beautiful building, 10,000 square feet, very impressive rehab facility, very calming colors. It was the first time I've ever been to a ribbon cutting where I was blessed with holy water. It was awesome.
Interesting.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, moved by Commissioner Simmons, seconded by Commissioner Vignola. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Carries 5-0. John?
Thank you, Mayor. This is item 10, ordinance 2019-101, and we're looking to continue this a date uncertain after I read the title. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Coral Springs, Florida, creating Section 13-3 of the Code of the City of Coral Springs entitled Community Surveillance Cameras Registration Program to provide regulations concerning the registration of surveillance cameras within municipal limits of the city, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date. And we're looking to continue this without a date certain, and we'll bring it back when we've looked at it further.
Okay, understood. Chief? We don't need to hear from you, huh? Okay, you got it. It's moved by Commissioner Vignola,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Simmons. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor.
But I did make a mistake. It was a request to hold a public hearing, so do I allow comment here, or it's been continued to a date uncertain?
You're good because we will continue to date
Perfect,
certain.
perfect. All right. Now, item number 11.
Item number 11 is ordinance 2019-105. It's an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Coral Springs, Florida, amending Chapter 13, Article 2 of the Code of the City of Coral Springs entitled Coral Springs Police Officers Pension Plan, in accordance with the Fraternal Order of Police Collective Bargaining Agreements, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date, to request to hold public hearing, approve, and set second reading, April 3rd.
Okay, Dale? Nice to be working with you again.
Yes, thanks, you too. I'm here tonight just to give you a little bit of background on the ordinance and let you know how we got to where we are. So back in December of 2018, we closed out a collective bargaining process that went on for several months. As part of that process, we did work with the FOP representatives to negotiate a new contract and some minor changes to the pension plan. Contained in that original agreement that was approved by the commission back in December was kind of a summary of 2 or 3 different things that needed to be updated in the city ordinance for the pension plan. And before you tonight, you have the output from our attorneys who all worked diligently to make those changes and include them in the ordinance going forward. Just a couple highlights for you, if you would. The plan has always had a deferred retirement option plan as part of the pension plan. And what we negotiated with the union was to change it from a maximum of 5 years to a maximum of 7 years. So that was one of the major things that went through that process. We also allowed members who were hired after October 1st of 2012 to drop after 23 years of service and required them to contribute their normal pension contribution for their first 2 years in the drop. Additionally, this new drop provision was only available to members who made the decision to drop after October 1st of 2018, which was the retroactive date of the collective bargaining agreement that was approved previously. Additionally, we gave the union the ability to transfer the decision on who's the record keeper for the drop program to the police pension board. That was something that was previously done through my department and through the city manager's office, and we went ahead and gave that over to them as part of this process. Additionally, we added a new section in there for non-line of duty death benefits. It's something that they did not have previously, but we had, through negotiation with the fire union, provided that kind of benefit to them, so we mirrored that benefit for the police department as well. And then finally, there was some just general language changes related to IRS compliance. We had been undergoing a voluntary compliance plan with the IRS for several years. That particular project finally closed out, and in the end, we had to make some changes regarding our rehire practices and positions that could be rehired back into the department after retirement, and that's now memorialized in the plan document.
Thank you.
Questions for me?
No questions here? Okay, it's a public hearing. Would anybody like to be heard?
Evening, Glenn Matnack from the Fraternal Order Police. I just want to thank the city staff for working with us on getting the ordinance changes submitted, and I'm here if there's any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moved by Commissioner Vignola, seconded by Commissioner Daley. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, carries unanimously, 5-0. Thank you. Next, we're on the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled?
Move consent.
Second.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Daley, seconded by Commissioner Simmons. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimously. Next, we're up to item number 19, Economic Development Administration Grant, or was that under consent? No, that's not under consent.
It could be.
Too late now.
All right. So back in 2018, we applied for a grant through the Economic Development Administration for some stormwater improvements to the corporate park. And so we've gone on to the next round now, and that, of course, requires a local match of around 40%, which is just under $2 million. We've also been in the process of applying for money in the Job Growth Grant Fund, which is a fund created by the legislature in the state of Florida. And we've had some conversations with DEO, and they are very favorable towards our application, but at this point, there is no funding in that fund until the state legislature renews that sometime during session, we hope.
So in this regard, we're showing some agility from our original business plan?
We are.
Okay. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved, seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carries
Thank you.
unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item is item number 20. It's an appointment for the Public Art Committee. Deborah?
Before you is a request for an appointment of Lauren Turner to the Public Art Committee in the Business Community seat.
Great.
Approve. Aye, committee.
Okay, your committee?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimously. Next, we're on to Commission Communications. Who would like to go first?
I can.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
I would like to thank city staff for their support of a very successful Coral Springs Festival of the Arts, and the rain god stayed away. It was awesome. I hope to see everybody out at the half marathon this Saturday. Just remember that traffic will be an issue. And lastly, World Fest would be at the end of this month, 11 to 6, out at Sportsplex, and I hope that I will see you there. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Simmons?
I also want to reiterate thank you to and congratulations to the Festival of the Arts Committee for another successful Festival of the Arts. I was not able to get there Saturday, but I got out there Sunday, and it was beautiful because I remember everybody kept telling me all day on Saturday how much it was going to rain on Sunday. So I'm glad that I got out there and got to participate again this year. I'm sorry I didn't get to do parking like I normally do. So I also want to say congratulations to you, Mayor Brook. Thank you for being here tonight, and I look forward to working with you as well.
Thank you very much.
I just want to talk quickly about Broward Days, which just took place, was it last week?
Yes.
This past weekend? Well, I'm trying to run together. Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Candace Eriks for putting together another wonderful event. First time, I think, that the Speaker of the Florida House actually addressed the Broward delegation. So that was very interesting to witness that. It was a wonderful event, got to meet and talk with other people, and I got to hound our county commissioners about various things working with Coral Springs. So that was also interesting. Another note that I took away is that there is a complete attack on local control right now. I mean, there are just double-digit bills regarding preemption and thwarting the ability of local governments to exercise some kind of control within their dominion. So I will always say, please be vigilant, be mindful, and let's see what we can do. Hopefully we'll have a friend up there sooner than later to kind of help be the tip of the spear. No Knowles reference, because I don't like FSU, Dan. But
How do
again,
you really feel
Let
about
the emails
that?
come in.
And thank you again to staff. You guys work very hard, so thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Commissioner Vignola?
Just for Commissioner Simmons' sake, I remember one time there was a commissioner, I'm not going to say he's sitting to my right, but made a comment about another university in the state, and there was quite a few emails and comments being made.
There's a strong UCF base in South Florida.
He literally, I think he called me and asked me, did everybody in the state go to UCF? I have a feeling you might get some FSU phone calls, and I look forward to hearing all about it. Other than that, I want to congratulate Mayor Brook. It's interesting. You left this commission by term limits. The person in my seat went to your seat, and that opened up the seat for me. It's kind of neat to see that go full circle, but glad to have you as part of the team.
Thank you.
I look forward to working with you for, I guess, my last year and a half. But yeah, the Coral Springs Farmers Market's coming up Saturday, March 24th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. right over here at the Art Walk. I want to give everyone just a little reminder. Broward School is getting ready for spring break. Tomorrow, Thursday, is going to be a half day, so please be careful of the school zones. Staying with that, I recently had a birthday in my family. I'm now the father of a teenage daughter. So far, the hairline hasn't changed too much, but I have 2 more coming that'll be teenagers soon. I don't know how much that's going to stay.
Good luck.
But,
You're going to get some gray hairs.
Yeah, so I wish Madison a happy birthday, and my other daughter, who's a year behind her, a happy birthday also coming up. And if anyone would like to speak with me, please call me on my cell phone at 954-632-7544. Thank you.
Great, you're very welcome. Commissioner Daley, only one meeting after this.
Thanks, Mayor. So first and foremost, I want to say congratulations and welcome on board, and I look forward to working with you for one more meeting.
And a retreat, or you're not at the retreat?
One more meeting.
Gotcha.
So, but at least in this capacity, I do look forward to working with all of you, if they'll ever swear me in. As you can see, I'm still here, and some in the crowd groan. But I'm hopeful that we've presented a compromise to the Speaker of the House, to the Speaker's office, and to his legal counsel, which would be to swear me in the day after the primary election, the primary special election. The primary election was set by gubernatorial executive order April 9th, and so my hope is that by April 10th, they would be able to swear me in, although I wouldn't be able to have filed bills or serve on committees. I'd be able to participate in the budget discussions and other last-minute items that come up as the session closes out those final 3 or 4 weeks or so. So I'm hopeful that that is possible. We're still working it, and I'll update you. I did want to say there was a bit of good news out of Tallahassee. I think I mentioned there was a state representative from the Panhandle, who I won't name, who had filed a bill that would have stripped some provisions of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Public Safety Act, which obviously, as you all know, passed last session, would have stripped some of the best protections from that legislation. My understanding is that bill has been shelved by one of the committee chairs. So that's not to say that there won't be other amendments and there aren't other bills that have been filed, but that was surely the most egregious, and I'm proud to say that it has been shelved, at least for this year. I did want to mention that I'd like, and I mentioned it in my agenda briefing, but I want to bring it up for my colleagues, because I know we've talked about it at length in the past when we granted the exception, and the site on Sample Road, when you get off the Sawgrass across from the Sportsplex, and I don't remember the exact property name, I can probably click on it here. Yeah,
Where they park the cars, yeah.
Where we did the exception for the cars, the
Horrible.
Pan American site. So I would really, and again, I've got a meeting and a couple minutes left, so I would hope that my colleagues would continue to look into this and staff. But while the buffer that is there might meet the very, very bare minimum of what we had hoped, I truly think it's a little embarrassing to have a hedge. I don't know if you could call that a hedge. It comes up to maybe mid-calf on me, and it'll be fully grown by the time I'm 95, if that. And a rickety chain link fence, no screening, no nothing. And this is not to be negative of the property owner. They did what they were required to do. But I would like staff to kind of take another look and see if there's anything else we can do. That's one of the main ways to get into our city. And you know what? I mean, maybe we put a sign up that says, folks, as you get off the Sawgrass, only look to your right. Only look to the big, nice park and hockey facility with 3 sheets of professional ice where the Florida Panthers practice, in case you didn't know. Okay, don't look to your left.
That was the one I voted
against. Because it's embarrassing.
The 124th.
So
I think we might need a sign variance for that. I'm teasing you.
Oh, jeez. So yeah, I really think we should take another look at that. And actually, It's interesting that it's coming up in my last couple days up here because one of the things when I first ran for office in 2012 that I remember hearing from a realtor was that she had taken a young couple to see a home in Weston, and then they drove up the Sawgrass and got off the Sawgrass at Sample, and they went about a mile down the road, and the young couple said, no disrespect, but take us back to Weston. That's when we lost. That's when we shouldn't have lost. And it's little things like that, that first impression when you come off the highway. So yes, I voted for the exception, but honestly, wow, I mean, talk about doing the bare requirement. Would really like if we could take another look at that. With that, if you have city-related issues, at this point, I only take compliments. All complaints go to Commissioner Simmons. For those of you that need to reach me, my cell phone number is 954-778-3304. The District 97 office, as I mentioned a couple meetings ago, is open and operational. There is a staff member. There's the former staff member to Representative Moskowitz in there and working that can address any constituent issues that come up. So you can still call his district office or you can call me. I'm happy to connect you and be helpful however we can. So with that, I'll save the rest of my comments for my last commission meeting in 2 weeks. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
All right, wonderful. It's so good to be back here. It's so good to be working with you all and working with you again, John, and working with you, Deborah. And Mike, I think you've done a phenomenal job. I'm very excited to work with you. I'm happy to work with everybody here. You guys and gals are incredible. So many of you have been here 20, 25 plus years, and I still feel like even though you've been here so long, you have the enthusiasm and energy like you got here this past year, and pay a lot of tribute to you. Very excited to work with you all. You know, one of the things that's important to me is that we have respectful and an open dialogue here as we did this evening. It's okay for it to be 4-1, 3-2, 5-0. You know, we're all going to work together, period. I love how the little girl whose sister gave the pledge, I invited her to come up for a picture. She said no. I think it's okay. It's important to say no when no is your answer. You know, be truthful, say no. She said no, thank you. I think it's great. I'm very happy that you guys waited for whoever the mayor would be to memorialize Mayor Campbell. I hear we're going to be discussing options for that at our retreat, and I look forward to that discussion, and I appreciate your patience, sure. I'm having my first set of office hours. It's coming up on April 1st. And no, I'm not fooling you. It's actually April 1st at 3:30. And my focus for those office hours is actually minority issues. I think 2 or 3 people have signed up already. If you're interested in coming, the number's 954-344-5906. And I think it's, well, Andrea's leaving, unfortunately, and Larry's going to address that momentarily. But it's Randy is going to be taking appointments during that hour and a half or so. And you can also reach me by email at sbrook@coralsprings.org. And my cell phone is 954-696-7599 for any citizen issues, complaints, questions. When I was here at the swearing in last night, I forgot to thank a few people. So I want to thank Ravi Suknanan. I want to thank Mitch Summer. Thank Lisa Ferreri, Tanya Marie, who's here. Thank you very much, Tanya, for doing such a great job and giving me all your heart. Really appreciate it. And I want to thank Peter Stelnicker and Andy Hernandez. I've got just a couple more things. One thing that's important to me as I'm here with you, whether it's for however many years, but if I can help you, Joy and Joshua and Larry, what legacy do you want to leave here at the dais? I want to help you fulfill your legacies. I want to work with you. I want to help support what your goals are for the city. And your ideas and your vision is very important to me as your mayor and as your colleague. And Dan, if we had more meetings than one together, I'd share the same thing with you, but if there's something I can help support in the next meeting, I'd be happy to do so. There is a peace walk. I think on the heels of what we have been through over the last year, the more people we can have on our peace walk, the better. This message also goes out to the Parkland residents. I met with Mayor Hunchofsky yesterday. While she couldn't be here for the swearing in, she did come to Tavolino's afterwards. The entire Parkland Commission was here or at that event. I really appreciate their support of their neighboring city. The Peace Walk is the first Saturday of every month. The next one is April 6th. It is at 7 a.m. I understand, Joy, you've been on a few of these.
Many.
So I would invite all of us to attend and really have more unity in the community and bring together peace with both of our cities. I hope to see all my colleagues there. I plan to be there 7 a.m. April 6th. There are already some people that have applied for committees that have been interested in serving the city from my campaign, from being in touch with different people. My number that I counted is probably over 50. I'm hopeful, I don't know if we were able to find that link.
Yeah, Mayor, the links are long, so if anybody will just go to our webpage and just put in committees and boards, it'll take them right to the app.
There we go. Put in committees and boards on the webpage, and you have to fill out all of the information. If you skip the last line, your application won't be accepted. So a couple of people had problems with that. You got to go all the way to the bottom. I'm a starting mayor for the day. I had mayors for the day when I was a mayor early on, 2006. So, Randy, you'll be getting some calls, and we're going to try to do about 2 or 3 a month, and we'll talk about some details another time. I've got just a couple more items. I do think that we as a city can do more for the next election, June 18th, to advertise it. 9.5% voter turnout in our city. We have a lot of educated people, a lot of caring people. I don't think it's great. I think we can do better. So I'd like to see the city put forth more efforts to advertise it. What occurred the first time I ran, we had 6.7% voter turnout, and we actually made it a key intended outcome to increase voter turnout by 100% in the next election from 2002 to 2004. And the city put forth some advertising dollars. Marketing did a great job. There were signs everywhere, not promoting a particular candidate, but just promoting the election and the day. So if there's any way we can be agile to do that for this June 18 election, where my understanding is there are 7 qualified candidates? Is that correct, John?
We actually had a withdrawal. There's no 6.
Okay. So I think if we can advertise that, my personal goal would be, can we get it to 12%, maybe even 13%? But if we can get it higher, even though some people may be on summer vacation, June 18, I think would be great. And I did hear from a lot of people, they didn't know that there was election. And so I would just like to take as much responsibility, as much ownership as we can. There'll still be some people, they won't know that there's an election. But I think the more we can promote it, the better. I did see one sign advertising the election by Marola's. I didn't see other signs, and maybe there were, and I just didn't see it. But I would like us to do whatever we can to promote the election. And I guess I'll just share one more thing because I don't want to belabor it. The Chamber, Cindy, you guys put on an amazing party, an amazing gala. You recognize great business leaders in our community. The Chamber is a gem in our city. I'm so excited to be a member for so many years and work with you. And I hope to promote the Chamber, throughout my time here. You guys do a great job, and you really help lift our community in many ways. So thank you, Cindy. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Larry, who wanted to share something additionally, and then to Vice Mayor Carter.
So, been up here a little bit and done some good things, done some bad things. Most of the bad things that I've done have been covered up by Andrea Maper. Most of it's scheduling-wise. Andrea's always fielding phone calls from us, and people want us here, they want us there, or all different types of things. And Andrea goes through my emails. If you email me, Andrea's reading it. But she's leaving the city of Coral Springs. This week's her last week. And I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of all of us and all the commission members that you did work with. We know you busted your butt and you worried me. Even the other night, she was texting me at about 9:45 at night, reminding me about something. So I wanted to thank you and apologize to you for being such a pain with scheduling. With the kids and this and that, whatever, sometimes it's a little hectic for me to get back to you. But I know we're going to miss you, but on a personal note, I'm truly going to miss you. So, and thank you for everything you've done for us.
Vice Mayor?
I have the same sentiments. Honestly, if I had your job, I'd have shot somebody by now. You do an amazing job of...
Chief is shaking his head.
Right? Managing 5 different personalities and schedules. It's just beyond impressive. You got into my head. If I didn't do something, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get an email from Andrea or a text. That was good. You're wonderful, and I wish you the very best in your new journey. I'm sure going to miss you.
Wonderful. Commissioner Daley?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So similar to my colleagues, but I think a little bit more so, because if you actually if you were to break down the requests that came in from the different commission members and the mayor, I think I probably took the lion's share, which also means I drove Andrea nuts. But Andrea, for the last 6 years, you're the main person that I've worked with, and have been a kind of like my left arm. And to a certain point, to Joy's point, we kind of took on at points when I was in trouble, it was like a mother-son relationship, right? Where you were reprimanding me for something, and telling me to do it this way, or to go to this event, or go here, or go there, and really, you made it possible. And I think one of the things that I always valued, and I've told you this one-on-one, but I think it's important for everybody to hear, is your level of caring and commitment to this city, just in terms of your follow-up and how you communicate with residents. Makes all the difference in the world, because regardless of the issue, regardless of whether it's something we can help them with or not, your tone and temperament are always the same, unlike mine. So I appreciate everything that you've done, not just for the city, but for me, and we're leaving together. So wishing you and Dave the very best.
I've only worked with you about 12 hours, but it's been awesome, Andrea. Josh?
I've only been here for a few months, but Andrea, you have been literally, I have 2 phones. You have been better than all those phones. You have, I think I talked to, the only person I talked to more than I talked to you is Cheyenne. And I am so appreciative of you pouring knowledge into me. You have helped me so much start out on this journey. And it was almost like a breath of fresh air, because after the election and the swearing in, I'm like, all right, now what? And when I sat down with you, immediately loaded up my calendar. I said, load me up. Let's get to work. And, I spend a lot of time in the office. For those of you that don't know, I spend a lot of time there. And so we've gotten to talk a lot and just build a nice rapport. And I am truly saddened that you will not be here with us anymore. And I learned a lot from you in these short months, and I'm going to take that with me. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So, Andrea, what we're trying to say is, can you rescind your notice for 2 years, maybe 3? No, okay. All right, we're on to, thank you, Andrea, again. City Manager's Communications.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of staff, we want to congratulate you on being elected mayor, and we look forward to working with you. Also like to thank Vice Mayor Carter, who stepped up during a really difficult time, and you pulled double duty. And on behalf of staff, we have so much respect for you, and we are so thankful to you. And you just put in so many hours, and from my standpoint, you're always there. And so I wanted to thank you. We could not have had better leadership during that period of time, and we're very appreciative of that. Also like to thank Andrea. We're going to definitely miss you. You're just so professional and knowledgeable, and I've enjoyed working with you. On behalf of all of our staff, we're gonna miss you, and we wish you the best. I'd also like to just thank our staff that worked really hard on the medical marijuana ordinance. It's obviously very complicated. Our legal staff did a brilliant job. Horace took the lead for us, which I appreciate. Susie, Julie Krolak, I'm convinced, goes to sleep at night with images of different buffering maps. Liz with the outreach, and then also our chief, Clyde Perry, who him and his staff did a lot of research and did a lot of work that made tonight possible. And I wanted to thank him as well for all of his efforts to be able to provide an ordinance that we believe is the best ordinance that we can put together. So that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Mike. City Attorney?
Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you.
As great getting to spend a lot of time with you the last 90 days.
It's
And
been wonderful.
last night was wonderful. It was great to see your family. 8 years later, grandchildren, everything. Little known fact last night, Andrea ripped up all the elected officials' sheet and demanded that I recognize her last night, threatened me, and so that's why I did that. Andrea, have to expose it, No, but Andrea, thank you for always doing that, and you will be missed, and thank you for all you've done. Little known fact as well is that she worked in the city attorney's office for a while, and then she realized that she could work with you, so that's a real compliment to my office. And then Joy as well. Thank you for stepping up. Very tough time for all of us, and you did a great job, and it was truly appreciated by us. And that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, we are adjourned. Our next regular meeting is April 3rd at 9 a.m. Have a good night.